Is the life I am living aligned with the deepest level of my nature? Am I truly engaged in activities that allow the depth of my being full expression? Brene Brown says, don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it, right? Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you are not enough, because you will always find it. Our worth and belonging are not negotiated with other people. We carry those inside our hearts. I may make myself fit in for you, but I will no longer belong to myself. You ever been there? So much, especially you, Courtney. That was just lovely. We are beginning a series this morning based on a book by Parker Palmer called Let Your Life Speak. It's a beautiful book that really invites us to listen deeply to our own soul and find a way to let our life speak. It is accompanied by spirit circles, and if you haven't signed up for a spirit circle, I invite you to do so. It will be an opportunity to engage this material with other people in this community. And Michael reached out to me. He's one of our spirit group leaders. He reached out to me a few weeks ago, and he said, Cynthia, I'm talking with my group about this book, and it says that this is about finding your vocation, and we're all retired. Is this going to be meaningful to us? And my answer to Michael was yes, absolutely. You see, vocation comes from the Latin word voice. And so when we're talking about connecting with our vocation, we're talking about finding our voice. We're talking about connecting with our soul, our spiritual essence, and discerning how we can give expression to that in the world. And I would say if we're on this planet, that's meaningful. There's a way in which we can give, a way in which we can serve, a way in which we can take the uniqueness of who we are and share it with the world, and that is always meaningful. So go for it, Michael. Probably shouldn't say that to Michael. Insider's joke. For those of you that don't know Michael, he has a delightful sense of humor. Yes, he does. Parker Palmer speaks about vocation in this way. He says, vocation does not mean a goal I pursue. It means a calling that I hear. Before I can tell my life what I want to do with it, I must listen to what my life is telling me, how my life is telling me who I am. I must listen for the truth and the values at the heart of my own identity. Beautiful words, but how do you do that? It's kind of nebulous in many ways, right? And listening to our soul, listening to our essence is kind of a little tricky. Parker Palmer compares the soul to a wild animal. Not because it's ferocious, but because if we go traipsing through the forest, we're unlikely to see many animals, right? If we really want to see those animals and connect with those animals, we need to go gently, we need to go quietly and allow them to rise up and show themselves to us. So that's kind of like what we're inviting you to do in this series. And I want to ground this in unity teachings. If we go to the Revealing Word, Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, says that voice is the faculty or the power of utterance. The power center is in the throat, and it controls the vibratory energies of the organism. It is the open door between the formless and the formed. It is the doorway from which we take the infinite that is God and move it forth in our lives and give expression to it in our own way. Fillmore also says that the voice is the most direct avenue of expression for consciousness. So if we're going to listen to our life speak, we need to listen deeply and open ourselves to be vehicles of expression for the divine. One way we do this is by listening to what you read about in 1 Kings after Elijah's experience on the mountain. Listen for the still small voice of God. In other translations, it's called the sound of sheer silence. It is that vibratory energy that brings all of creation into manifestation. And we are one with it. But we have to listen, we have to open up, we have to immerse ourselves in that energy. And while prayer and meditation are an essential component to that, something that we really want to engage in on a regular basis, to really find and give expression to our voice, we also have to take that and open ourselves to that listening in the midst of our daily life, in the midst of our activities, to take a moment to pause, to listen, to consider, is what I am doing giving me life? Is it energizing me? Is it bringing me joy? Is my heart vibrating at a deeper sense of love when I'm engaged in this activity? Or is this activity perhaps not really aligned with who I am and draining me in some way? Our life is always speaking with us, always inviting us to a deeper connection with God and a deeper expression of our God essence. And when I speak of connection, connection is all around us. There is no separation. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about how we inter-are with all of life, with the Creator, with one another, with the planet, with each and every aspect of creation. And so if we're listening for a voice, we're opening ourselves to all of that and considering how we can play in that field, bringing the best of ourselves, the deepest layer of ourselves into expression. Part of this journey is about finding the ways in which we inhibit that flow. And one of the ways we inhibit that flow is by listening to different voices. We have a tendency, because our need for belonging is so deep and so profound, we have a tendency to make choices in our lives that may be more about what someone else thinks we should be doing, or to ensure that someone likes us. And when we do that, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're not connecting ourselves to the depth of who we are, and we're not honoring everything that that we are called to be. So it's important on a regular basis to just consider, is the life I am living aligned with the deepest level of my nature? Am I truly engaged in activities that allow the depth of my being full expression? Brene Brown says, don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it. Right? Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you are not enough, because you will always find it. Our worth and belonging are not negotiated with other people. We carry those inside our hearts. I may make myself fit in for you, but I will no longer belong to myself. You ever been there? I can't imagine that any of us haven't been in that place at some time, right? You know, it's like the life we are living is not ours, it's somebody else's. And if we really believe that we are individualized expressions of the divine, we have a responsibility to show up as our true selves, to listen for that voice and to allow it to give expression through us. And when we do that, we feel more alive, we feel more joy-filled, we feel more powerful, and we touch the world in ways that only we can do. But Parker Palmer says that if we allow ourselves to get caught up in pursuing vocation from some other place, it is an act of violence to ourselves. And that our self will resist in some way, calling us forward, calling us to be who we truly are, calling us to find our voice and to let it flow, to give it expression in our world. And I see this as kind of an ongoing journey, something that is always kind of unfolding in our lives. When I was really young, I got the impression that my voice didn't matter, that my voice was insignificant. And one of the consequences of that is I shut down. My voice became very quiet, still is, and if you don't hear me, please let me know. But it became very quiet and very inhibited. But life, but spirit, will always find a way to give expression. And I found that. Spirit found it in me through dance. Dance was a way in which I could express my voice and not have to talk. But here's the thing. Because there was all this suppressed energy in me about speaking and showing up as Cynthia, it impacted me as a dancer. And I got to a point where I realized I had some healing work to do. And the pressures of the dance world would not allow me to do that. And so I stopped dancing and began to pursue other things, as well as doing some inner work to really heal and to get more in touch with my true self. And that journey eventually led me to receive this calling, very strange calling, to become a minister. Right? Okay, I don't want to talk. I really don't want to talk in front of people. And God wants me to be ministered. This was really, really hard to accept. And Parker Palmer speaks about this. Sometimes the call in life is so deep that you can't not do it. You just have to do it. And it wasn't an easy journey. I walked through a lot more turmoil, but I began to find my voice in many different avenues. I began to get a deeper sense of the wholeness that I am as a spiritual being. And it continues. I mean, if we are individualized expressions of God, which is infinite, there's always more seeking expression, always more seeking to be poured out in us. But it is so interesting because there's a thread that runs through all of it. I don't dance anymore, except when the band plays. I don't dance professionally anymore, but the dancer lives inside me. Some of you notice the way I move, but it's more than that. It is an energy that permeates the way I move through life, and it is unique to me. And God wants me to respond to that call. God wants each one of you to respond to the call of Spirit in you, to find a way to let your voice sing or dance or express. I would take it even further. I would say that God needs you to be that unique expression. That the wholeness of the manifest universe calls each of us to fully be who we are. Rumi says, "In your light, I learn how to love. In your beauty, how to make poems. You dance inside my chest where no one sees you." But sometimes I do, and that light becomes this art. Each of you is a work of art. My invitation to you is to look for that light, to listen for the voice of Spirit that is moving through your life, to connect with the dance that lives inside you. And continually ask yourself, what is the art that seeks expression in me? How do I let the light inside me out? How do I give it expression? How do I expand that light out into the world in ways that only I can do? And finally, a couple last words from Rumi. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. And each one of those ways is unique to each and every one of us. So my invitation is, let that light out. Let your light shine. Namaste.
Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful.